cookies are done. Hey everybody, I'm Catherine and I am here today with my review for Fairest by Marissa Meyer. So I unclothed all of my hardcovers. I haven't yet done the ones behind me, but I unclothed all the ones on my main bookshelf, and that's why this baby doesn't have a cover. Check out the spine. Like, that has some good spine going on. So in case you don't already know, Fairest is the prequel novella and a half type size to the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. So chronologically, it comes before Cinder. It did, however, just come out this year. Last year? This year? Came out, it was the most recent release. Winter, the fourth book in the series, does come out this fall. I cannot wait for it because, especially after reading this book, like, I need me some winter now, minus all the snow and cold. Reading this book was an experience. It was super difficult. I equally hated and pitied the main character, Levana, which after reading the first 3 books in the series and then reading Fairest, which, I mean, since that's the order that they came out in, that's how I did it, it offers you a lot of insight into the character, but it didn't necessarily make me like her anymore. I went through kind of like the stages of depression with Levana in this book, meaning like, so I started before reading the book and I was like, oh, she's so horrible. And then you start the book and you're like, oh, she's so innocent. I feel so bad for her. And then you're like, what are you doing? Why are you doing? No, don't do this. And then you're like, oh my God, she's completely insane. Insane. And then you start to pity her. And then you start to just feel sad for her. And it kind of just stops. Like, you no longer care, and you just hope that she gets her just rewards. A lot of this book deals with the relationship between Levana and her sister, who is actually the queen, and is, well, spoilers, and later she plays a large role in other stuff posthumously because she does die in this book, which, if you've read the previous 3 books in the series, you do know that she's not around because Levana has taken over, and this is Levana's creation story. But the relationship between the two of them are what made me feel like the positive sad feels for Levana. I felt so bad for her. She was so mistreated by her sister. Her parents didn't seem to really care about her before they were murdered, before this book actually takes place. You just pity the girl. You're like, oh my God, let me just take you, show you what a loving family is supposed to be like, give you a hug. But you can tell later in the book that their relationship is a large part of what goes wrong. And you start to wonder psychologically, like, what if the sister was actually nice? What if the parents actually cared? What if? And it's just one thing after another. And the big thing between them is why Levana is actually really disfigured and ugly, and why the sister picks on her so much, which is later revealed in the book. And it is revealed around the time that you're really starting to not like Levana at all. And it kind of reins you back. It gives her more humanity. It does not excuse any of the actions that she does, but it does give you that layer of emotion other than just hate. Personally, I love books like this. I love to hate a good character, and I love having a reason. I love seeing why the bad characters in books are the way they are. I love the fact that this isn't a huge book, It was only like 4 or 5 hours maybe on the audio, because I did both. I was reading it and I did it on the audio, and it was really well done. I don't think I could have handled a longer story for Levana, but at the same time, something shorter wouldn't have been enough. Okay, here's where I'm about to get incredibly spoilery for this book specifically. So if you haven't read the book and you don't want to be spoiled, I suggest you fast forward. So you have been warned. Here are the spoilers. The turning point for me, for Levana, between pitying her and feeling sorry for her and right out being disgusted by her, was when she raped the guy. What was his name? So Levana has this complete out-and-out obsession with Everett from the very beginning of the book. Fuck off, timer. And it really grows as the story goes, to the point where she takes advantage of him when he's in mourning for his wife, who died during childbirth, and she manipulates her own facade into looking exactly like his wife, and then slowly making her look better, in her opinion. And I mean, if that wasn't bad enough, like, she at that time was still very young, very naive, very petulant. Like, I can kind of understand that, kind of. But it was the point where she actually forces him to have sex with her. Like, she had been forcing him to do other things up until then, manipulating him to care about her and, you know, kiss her and hold her hand. But that was the turning point when you clearly, as the reader, knew he was not into her. He did not want any of this at all. Like, and she forces it. And you can just feel the emotion of Everett after it's done, and he realizes that she was a virgin and he just took her virginity and he didn't want to, that she raped him. Full out raped him. Then of course she forces him to get married to her, and it just continues on and on and on, and I feel so bad for him. I love the fact that Meyer was able to write a scene like this in a book. I feel like a female raping a male is something that a lot of people wouldn't recognize as such. Even in society now, people are really like, oh, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's not like it's him forcing himself on her. Like, the guy always wants sex anyway, so when a beautiful woman forces him to have sex, it's not rape. Yeah, it is. I'm sorry, it is. And especially in this book, it was totally rape. Rape. Completely, utterly rape. It was at this point in the book that my feelings from the previous 3 books were really cemented. And honestly, I felt as though nothing the character could have ever done would make up for it. And then it just gets worse. Like, she contracts someone to kill her husband. Like, I can't even fathom. And that's not the tip of it. There's more in-depth detail about what she actually does to Cinder and everything that happens with that, and how she treats her stepdaughter, who is Winter in the 4th book. And I hated her so much, and I loved reading about how completely evil she is. This book does really bring the discussion about with nature versus nurture. You have to wonder what it would have been like if she actually had have been loved, had she have been taught how to properly act, if she had had any structure, or was this sort of mannerism actually ingrained in her? Was it some sort of defect in her DNA and her makeup that made her like this? I love when books have topics kind of underlying like this that you can discuss in a group. I think this would be an awesome book for a book club because of stuff like this. and it would just be so amazing to sit and actually talk and have a discussion with a group of people and see how they take Levana and, you know, what their ideas are and how they feel about her after reading this book and reading the first 3 books in the series. I think this is definitely a book that you don't want to skip within this series. Although, if you are a fan of the series, I don't see you wanting to skip this in the first place. I do, however, actually suggest that you read it after Cress. Or, no, yeah, after Cress. I think if you read it before, you wouldn't get the full impact necessarily, because you see in reading Fairest how stuff that happens here affected exactly how Levana acted in the first 3 books. And personally, I don't think that you would get the same type of outtake from it if you were to read it in the chronological order that it is, instead of in the order that the books were published. It only took me a couple of days to read this book, and I was doing it primarily on audio because it was so engrossing, and it really did transport you to the world of the moon of Luna and into the Lunar Chronicles realm as it is. So much happens in the book, and having read the previous books, you're expecting so much to happen that you need the answers for that as well, because a lot has been left unanswered in regards to Levana and the mystery behind her with the first 3 books. So you have that high anticipation throughout the entire book, and it just made you want to go faster and faster while reading it, which is why I also like the audiobook, because it's timed. You can't really easily skip ahead and ruin it for yourself, kind of. This was an amazing book. I loved it. I will definitely recommend it to anyone and tell them to read it 3rd off in the series, because I believe that's how it should be written. Oh my god, I can't speak. I believe that's how it should be read. So before we close out this video, don't forget there is still some time left for you guys to enter my giveaway for Tonight the Streets Are Ours by Layla Sales. I will link the video down below, so go on over, check that out, enter it, because it's super easy to enter, and it won't close until the end of this month. So you have about a week or so. So go on and do that. And until next time, guys, as always, happy reading.